Now, KMJ's Sunday Conversation with your host, Alexandre Balakian. Sponsored by Gar Bennett. At Gar Bennett, we help growers feed the world.
Good Sunday morning, hoping you are settling into a tradition unlike any other. Yeah, Sunday Conversation, exclusively here on KMJ. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Alexandre Balakian, and I'm sporting the Azalea cocktail shirt in honor of the 89th Masters Sunday Convo. Globally broadcasted, did you know? We podcast where you podcast, and we are in high def right there on YouTube at KMJ Sunday Conversation. Another action-packed episode coming up a little bit later in the show. How's your 401k looking after that wild, chaotic week on Wall Street? We're going to hear from one of the most prolific Wall Street gurus in the state. Did you know he lives right here in Fresno? Marty Mazzora is going to join me. But we begin with what is expected to be some big-time local election fireworks in 2026. On Thursday, Brandon Vang took his oath after winning the special election for District 5 outright over Fresno Unified Trustee Elizabeth Jonathan Rosas. It was a nasty race that played out in the mailboxes of voters in that district. Jonathan Rosas telling me on Thursday for her possible run in the general for that same seat. Remember, this was a special, so there's a general for it. Quote, "Let's give him a chance to fulfill his campaign promises," end quote. So she didn't say whether she would run again or not. In 2026, the makeup of the Fresno City Council is going to have a whole new look, and that includes District 3, where Miguel Arias does term out. Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula has been very vocal about his desire to run for City Council District 3, but as of this week has not filed. However, there is one person who has filed. She has been a fixture on the Fresno Unified School Board. She is hitting the campaign trail already. She is Keshia Thomas, and she's here on Sunday Conversation in studio. Hi, Keshia. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Oh, I'm ready to see my golf game look like Bryson DeChambeau, but you know. So here we are. We are 2025 in April, but we're looking at 2026, and so are you heavily. Why did you decide to file this early?
Well, let me start here. Let me say thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure, and it's always been a pleasure. And secondly, I just want to clarify, am I on time? You know,
You're on time.
I'm on time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. You know, it was said that, you know, I'm an hour late, and, you know, I'm not saying I wasn't, but, you know.
Are we logging minutes here? I didn't know we were doing that.
I'm just saying I'm not late all the time.
There you go. You heard it here first.
So anyway, to answer your question, being on the school board has been an amazing journey. And, you know, I don't believe that people should be lifetime members of anything. I believe that things need to have a motion and a reason for everything we do. And I am homegrown Fresno. I'm homegrown West Fresno, Southwest Fresno. And so for a majority of my life, that's where I've been. That's where I fight. That's where I go to the grocery store. That's where I complain about too many liquor stores. That's where I complain about too many smoke shops. This is where I get to say what should be there because I've been there so long. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I went to school in West Fresno. So, you know, my thing is when you see an issue where the people aren't wholeheartedly being supported, you need to step up. And my thing is don't talk about it, be about it. And so that is one of the reasons why, you know, and we can talk about, you know, the norms, the homelessness, you know, or unhoused, I should speak correctly, the unhoused issue, which is really mostly in West Fresno. We can talk about the deficits in air quality, which I have been in the forefront of making it better because along with the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, I've been a partner in creating a space for our transportation deficit, introducing environmentally friendly cars, which are electric, all 100% electric cars, into the housing areas. So, I'm doing the work. I'm just not elected to do it.
Well, you announced the run, and Joaquin Arambula, who is going to term out in 2026 for his assembly seat, he's already endorsed Sandra Celadon for that. But he is saying he's running, but again, he hasn't filed yet. How do you compete against a political machine like an Arambula?
I have a lot of respect for the Arambulas. Amy endorsed me in my very first race. She's always been very supportive. The family has always been very supportive. So let me start there. And by no means am I ever going to disrespect that amount of support that they've given me. So, but I love a good race, and I have no problem with it. And I'm not Assemblyman Arambula. I'm not him. I'm Keshia Thomas. Mm-hmm. Well, and let me say this. I've been living in this community. I've been fighting in this community, working in this community, feeding in this community. And I can't minimize the work that, he may or may not have done. But I know I'm out front and in person with my people.
Mm-hmm. Let's start here. Endorsements. Mm-hmm. You're working on that already. We like name dropping here on Sunday Conversation.
Yeah, I'm not dropping.
You're not dropping any names?
No.
Not one endorsement.
I'm not. I will say the only endorsement that I'm willing to drop right now is that BWAPA, Black Women of Political Action, has decided to 100% wholeheartedly endorse me, and only me.
Do you feel confident that you're going to get some of the endorsements that can drive a campaign to the finish line?
I definitely do. And let's continue to remember, it's not always about money. But, my money doesn't look too bad for being a school board member.
What do you have?
I think I'm like $9,500, $10,000, something like that. Okay. Yeah, so that, don't look too bad. And I really haven't done a whole lot of...
What do you want to raise? I mean, normally city council, it's in six figures, easy.
Yeah. I'm figuring if I would like to raise somewhere between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
100,000.
Yeah. Definitely. Because I think it will speak to my support. But again, we know that we can be supported all over the place. And if we don't run a good campaign and we're not wholeheartedly in it for the right reasons, that we may not win.
What are you running on? I hear the trigger words like, I fight for my community. I help feed my community. I help with the air quality for the community. But what is the one thing that separates you? Because whether we like it or not, it's a nonpartisan seat. However, there's a lot of politics, even from Fresno School Board all the way to the Fresno City Council dais. So are you identifying as a Democrat, an independent, a conservative, someone that's down the middle, an NPP? How do you identify?
I refuse. Listen, our household, my grandfather was a Republican, my grandmother was a Democrat. So there was always a whole lot of fighting in the house.
I wish I was at that.
Oh my gosh. And then the women were Dallas Cowboy fans and the men were 49er fans. So you can only imagine, what it was like. Yeah. Now, let me say this, and I am a Democrat. I'm not minimizing that in the least bit. However, what I am going to say is that not only Democrats want to endorse me, and I say that confidently, because for me, I am not here to say, oh, I'm only taking care of Democrats or I'm only taking care of Republicans. No, I'm taking care of Fresno. And I'm not saying that, oh, all the money should go here or all the money should go there. No, it needs to go where it needs to go, because what West Fresno need may not be what somebody else needs. And, I've been with Fresno Unified for a while, and now guess what? I'm going to unify Fresno. That is what I'm running on.
Unify Fresno. So let's talk about this a little bit, because as you get into a race and you're going to have, let's just say he's going to be there. Joaquin Arambula is going to be there. We're expecting that. And, I don't know who else is going to be there as well. But you guys kind of almost see eye to eye in a lot of ways, would you say? So how do you think there's that one thing? He is a career politician. His family's a career political family. I wouldn't say you're a career politician. Do you think that separates the race right there?
It does. I'm not sure that people want to see career politicians, especially coming back to the Valley, after being gone for so long. And again, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but I'm not sure if that's what people want to see. They want to see something different. They want to see people that are wholeheartedly going to fight for everyone, not just one thing. And they want somebody that they can call. They want somebody that will be there. I got to jump back to Fresno Unified. I have parents that call me directly. Now, I have people that are upset with me as well. It goes both ways. But, the bottom line is I have teachers that call me when they have an issue. I have parents. I have, district people. I have people call me when they have a problem, and I make sure that I'm accessible. I'm accessible as possible.
So results, right? Results are something that everybody talks about no matter what seat you're running for, including dog catcher, I guess. And there is a perception, and you know it. The school board members, they're always saying the perception. It's a political breeding ground for higher office, which some think jeopardizes what being a school board member is truly about, and that's the kids. How do you get around? How do you tell people, look, I'm a school board member, but yes, I'm also running for this seat. So how do you make sure that kids aren't in the rear view mirror? They're still on the dashboard in front of you.
Oh, never. I am an educator. I will never leave my kids behind. As a matter of fact, I think that this run really speaks to what my kids can do. I used to be a Fresno Unified student. I'm a graduate. Many of our kids don't think that they can make it to a different space to make a difference. They don't know how. So I'm teaching some of them in real time. How do I become, and how do I become the best person ever, number one, and how do I continue to support my district, my area, my town, and how do I make it better than when I got here? That has always been my goal. Just to say a little bit, when I talked, we went to the assembly a couple weeks ago, and Assemblyman Arambula was recognizing my Edison boys, which they really deserve to be recognized. It's been a long time coming. Okay, he finally recognized my kids, and guess what? I went with my kids. I thanked him for that. We took pictures. It was great. But the thing
he's running for city council. I'm sorry, I couldn't pass it up.
But what came out of this is when I talked to my soccer boys, the conversation that we had was, you just did a great job. Now here's your next job. Your next job is, I shouldn't be school board member for 30 years. Your job is to finish school and come back here and support your city, your schools, and make sure that any disadvantages that were there when you were there, that you come back and you fix that. So this is like, it makes me excited. No, I woke up, and let me tell you, I wasn't going to run. Because I was like, okay, I'm not done with my babies. I'm not done with my school board. And this comes back to not leaving them behind, because there's so many other areas that I can be helpful. Jobs, number one. We're at a deficit for jobs right now. How can I sit in that seat and help my kids find employment that can help them be able to maintain an apartment, a car, a family? I woke up one night and my friend told me, he said, Keshia, if you're not running for city council, why do you keep talking about this? He was like, it seems like you just can't get it out of your head. Right. I went to sleep that night and tossed and turned, and I woke up with a burning feeling in my stomach, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I said, this is it. I got to go. Yeah. I started making phone calls. I started talking to people, and people are excited to see me running.
Usually when I wake up in the middle of the night with a burning sensation, it's heartburn. But, listen, we gotta take a break, okay? Keshia's going to stick around because there is a Fresno Unified portion that we got to talk to her about, and there's a lot of stuff going on, including a superintendent search that continues to happen. There's a timeline on that. We'll talk about it. Sunday Conversation here on KMJ. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Conversation, exclusively here on KMJ. My guest, Fresno City Council candidate, Keshia Thomas is here.
That sounds so weird.
I know. Well, she's still a Fresno Unified School Board trustee. So let's dive into a little bit of that. And we talked about results, about being a Fresno City Council member, and that's something that you pride yourself on. But there's some new articles that have popped up. Bill McEwen kind of questioning the Fresno Unified School Board, saying this in his article about statistics, that they're dismal. The district 49 points below the state standard in English testing, 78 points below the standard in math testing, following small gains in 2024. When you hear some of those stats and then you're running for Fresno City Council, are those results telling voters, I'm the right person, this is why you need to vote for me? What do you say to that conversation or even that criticism?
You know, you sometimes just got to take it what it is. It's what it is. And unfortunately, you know, our teachers work really hard. So I cannot ever take away, you know, the hard work that they do. And I never will do that because I've been a teacher and a principal and all that other good stuff. And it's really hard work. You know, and then let's not even talk about the amount of students that we have that may or may not come to school, especially now that we have all these issues with, you know,
absenteeism.
Yes, absenteeism, but bigger than that, you know, we have the possibility of them being deported, their families being deported. You know, there's a lot of little pieces to this, and you know, I'm tired of hanging on to COVID because it was bad before COVID. And you know, Bob was a really, really nice guy, but the outcomes that were supposed to come under his tenure didn't happen, and so this change gives us a chance to recalibrate, which is honestly, as a teacher, is something I've been asking for. You know, my good friend Scott Lamb used to always tell me, go dig into your data as a teacher. And I would look over that data over and over again, and I would find ways to make sure kids understood that they grew in spaces. They may not have been in the green, but they grew. And that is something that this board has not done. We have not been student driven. We have not been outcomes driven. We've been messy. And that's the real truth.
So what's the fix?
So the change now is that we have decided that until adult behaviors change, student outcomes will not change. You cannot keep doing the same things over and over again. So now we're doing a deeper dive into outcomes. What are our kids doing? How are we doing it? What are we teaching them? And then if you look at our board meetings now, it's less fluff. Our board meetings used to be horrible and long and just a bunch of, you know, stripes and, you know, flowers. Mm-hmm. Now we're really pulling out the data. And so I really hope that people start to really look at our board meetings more often now and see that we're pulling out that data and showing people what it is, because we can no longer hide behind what we used to do.
Same article, Bill McEwen is talking about how this is Fresno Unified's last chance to get it right. And in his editorial, he just basically says the board needs to check their ego at the door, alliances, prejudices, put aside political ambitions.
I agree with all of that. Number one, I don't have an ego. I just don't. My goal in this run was to fight for kids. And that's what I've done. Secondly, I don't know what last chance to get it right means, but for me, I think with the new direction, it will be different. I really do. And I'm looking for outcomes to be better by December. Not tomorrow, not next week, but to start to change by December.
This new superintendent search, and I say new because it's still very much in the process, right?
That has been a nightmare.
So we've seen a new article by GV Wire, came out Thursday. Kind of late on Thursday, actually. But it says, and of course, this is all speculation. Fresno Unified Trustees select new superintendent. The fix is on. Well, they put it in a question mark. But they say Misty Herr is the new superintendent. So what do you say to that?
I cannot answer that question because we have all signed a non-disclosure agreement, and anyone who has leaked this story is fully in violation. And, quite frankly, there's some other pieces to this story, and that's that we've begun to negotiate and so on and so forth, and that is absolutely not true.
So Manuel Bonilla, the FTA president, says the fix is on. He said, quote, in this article by GV Wire, the board had a unique opportunity to use this process as a way to rebuild its trust with the community. Unfortunately, it seems like they missed that opportunity, and he used the words, the fix is on. Is the fix in?
There's no fix, nor has there ever been.
So right now, is Misty Herr the new superintendent?
No, sir.
You cannot
she is
comment.
Not the new superintendent at this moment.
At first, and correct me if I'm wrong, at first, most of the board, and I think you were a part of this, you were ready to move forward with Misty Herr. Can I say that?
You can.
Okay. But Susan Whittrop, I guess, pulled you off that ledge a little bit. Is that fair?
I'm not going to say that's exactly fair. It was, okay. I'm going to say, there's a this and a that. So first of all, Clovis has had a search. They have not had these many issues. Mm-hmm. So let's start there. Okay. Central has had a search. I don't even know if people even know about it. Fresno Unified has a search, and it turns into this political circus, mm-hmm. which is what it was. Mm-hmm. It was a political circus. And, but all in all, I believe in community driving things. And so I think it gave us a good chance just to back up a little bit, make sure that we heard community the way they should have been heard, which we did. We did tour after tour, and recalibrate to what did they want to see in our next superintendent. And let me say this too, we talk about, the statistics on our students having jobs. We talk about, the rate of pay. We talk, we have all these conversations about finance, and all in the same breath we say, and guess what? We're trying to train these people so that they can come back to work. And then those people come back to work and they say, oh, sorry, we're not giving you the job. What do we want here? Are we really training people that are true Fresnans to come back and do something great with their city? And I'm just throwing that question, not to you, but I'm just throwing that question out there. I feel like my son, and I'm going to talk about my own kid, has had a very difficult time finding like a solid employment, and that's not fair to the kids that and he's a smart kid. He's not, I can't minimize my son's, his ability. But it's very hard and difficult here for some of our kids to come out of school and find jobs, and not because they're not ready. It's because they're not there, or people won't hire them because they're born and bred from Fresno. Can you give me numbers on the superintendent search? How many people applied and how many people are on the finals list? Oh, none of that. No, I wish I could, but no. Okay. Are you guys close as a board to figuring out finalists? Working on it. Okay. Yeah. So still some time. We have some time. Okay. Is there a hardcore deadline on when the pick has to be in? Not hardcore. Okay. Not hardcore. Okay. So you feel you're going to do the due diligence, check all the boxes? We have done the due diligence, okay. At least where the community is concerned. Has Misty Herr shown, I'll just speak with you on this, has Misty Herr checked all the boxes for you? Misty is, the whole purpose of hiring a deputy was to make sure that we had somebody to take the place of the superintendent. Right? That's what a deputy is for. And so at the time she checked the boxes, and I think she still deserves an opportunity to be the person that she needs to be, whether that's in our district or another district. And I believe she checks a lot of the boxes.
The Fresno Teachers Association president, Manuel Bonilla, has been out front on his own media campaign saying the board is not being transparent about the search. How's the response? Is there one?
How have we not? That's the response. How have we not been transparent? The board's only job is to make sure that we hire a good superintendent and that we have student outcomes. That's it. That's our job. That's not FTA's job. That's not nobody else's job. We have to pay for that. And I'm going to say for me, any superintendent that comes into this school district that doesn't do a good job needs to go, and not 5 years from now and not 3 years from now. If we figure that they're not doing a good job, they need to go in 2 years. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give everybody a chance. But if you're not doing the job, you shouldn't be here.
This is what he says, and I'm going to quote him right here. When you make decisions behind closed doors like this, it erodes trust. That trust level is zero right now.
What is closed session supposed to be for? It's not open session. It's closed session. And closed session means that there are things that are going on in that area that we can't talk about out loud. And let me go a little bit further. Keshia Thomas decides that she wants to be superintendent and she goes and applies for the job. But Keshia Thomas works in Little Rock and her people don't know that she's applying for another superintendent job. How are they going to feel when I'm blasted all over the media that, oh, guess what? By the way, she just applied.
Right.
Are they going to want me back? Are they going to think that I'm committed to them? So we have to protect people. And so while, and this place is a fishbowl. If you whisper something, 9 times out of 10, somebody else is going to know about it. And it may not be all the way true.
So you're saying there's a candidate from Little Rock?
I love it.
So I had to go there. I want to, time flies when we're having a deep conversation. We're going to have a lot of these still to come. But I kind of wanted to finish with this. There is a narrative out there. Fresno Unified is in a deficit, much like the city of Fresno has a deficit, and many government agencies have deficits right now. I should say, let me speak correct here. Are there going to be program cuts, teacher cuts?
Let me tell you. We have not discussed listen, teachers are there to support kids. Without teachers, we don't have student outcomes. So I do not want everybody's hair to be on fire. I do not think at all that we're going to be cutting any teachers. But we are, and we're doing this now. So I can't say, oh, we're going to take money from here, or we're going to take money from there. But I know that things that aren't working are the first things to go.
So real quick, and we got like 30 seconds here, and I apologize because this may be loaded. Administration salaries, including that of the superintendent, whoever that's going to be, they get paid pretty darn good money. Let's not beat around the bush there. Could those administration salaries be cut down?
So,
could that help the deficit?
Listen, any little bit can help. And that's in any deficit. And again, everybody's at a deficit right now. So, but of course, Fresno Unified is always, the space where people want to, make a huge deal out of it. We're all at a deficit and we all have to find cuts. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. Because people do get paid handsomely for this district.
Got to cut it there. Yeah. Time flies. But you're going to be running for city council. Yes, I am. You are still in the middle of the superintendent search. She's Keshia Thomas. Thank you so much for your candor.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for having me on and always being just a great place to come and hang out and have a real conversation.
You got it. All right. When we get back, did you go on that roller coaster with Wall Street? We're going to talk to Marty Mazzora, Private Wealth Advisors. He founded that firm in 2007. We'll talk with him about what comes next. You're listening to Sunday Conversation. Welcome back to Sunday Conversation, exclusively here on KMJ. All right, how's your 401k? Wall Street these days is like taking a ride on Space Mountain. It's dark, full of twists and turns. You have no idea where it's going to lead you. Well, maybe my next guest can shed some light on the volatile chaos we saw on Wall Street this past week. Marty Mazzora joins me, Private Wealth Advisors. He founded the firm in 2007. He's been in the industry since 1984. Financial planner, portfolio, money manager. He does it all. Marty, welcome to Sunday Conversation. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
So your first thought as you're seeing the chaos on Wall Street, you say what?
My first thought?
Yeah, your first thought.
Yeah. Uncertainty, right? Investors' anxiety, right? Traders probably doing quite well, trading the volatility, but everyday folks who have their 401k, I got to believe are worried. In fact, I know they are. They're concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. How many calls did you get this week?
Not many, because I actually do a lot of outward communication. Just in our unique situation, our clients are getting video communications from me every other day. So they're getting, so we anticipate, but we get a handful, definitely. And actually it was from clients asking on behalf of other people. My father is asking me if this is a good time to invest, right? I got a client who's asked that about their son. It's a tough answer to that question, because frankly, if I answer it in the context of what we're doing, the answer would be no. We're not buying equities into this decline right here. My answer to someone whose money we don't manage is, what's your time horizon? And my answer to that question has been essentially this: if you have a 5-year time horizon and you buy stocks today, do I think that you will have made money 5 years from now if you're patient and you write it out? My answer is yeah. My best guess is that you will. You'll make money.
5 cents.
Right. There you go. And I'll be right if they're a penny higher, right? But do I think they may go lower first? I do think probabilities definitely lend, into that direction, would be what I would say.
I want to preface also that, we're not handing out financial planning advice here. We are just talking about what simply happened on Wall Street. And so it was like down 3,000, up, or down 3,000, up 3,000, down 1,000. I don't know. It was all over the place, really. And it looked like some kind of defibrillator, was pumping shock, and then it flatlined, and, it was weird. When's the last time you saw something like this?
Well, 2008, October 2008, March 2020, COVID, right? The late 90s, early 2000s, when the tech bubble burst. So, Alex, on the worst or the best days in the market, virtually always happened during bear markets, which is interesting. So what we had was that 3,000 up day in the Dow day before yesterday. And it was bracketed by a big down day on both sides. So the market had this wonderful rally yesterday, actually, and it gave half of it back today. And again, those big down days and the big up days happen around bear markets. That's another signal that, because yesterday it was kind of party on, right? Everybody was rushing into the market. But it was really more so, it was people who were leveraged and betting that the market was going to go down. The technical term is they were shorting the market. Okay. Now, when you short the market, you're exposed to market rallies. And if the market begins to rally and you're short, without getting into the weeds, you can lose a phenomenal amount of money in a big hurry. It forces you to buy stocks. So there's terms that we use like short squeeze, short covering rallies. Yesterday was classic. Now, why do those big updates happen during bear markets? Is because in bear markets, investors are anticipating further down moves in the market. So they try to game that with this short selling. And when the market goes against them, you get these massive buys. Now, if nothing fundamentally has changed, if it was just an announcement that, we're lowering the reciprocal tariffs, 13 hours after they went on, but we're still leaving on tariffs and we're increasing the tariffs on our biggest trading partner to 125%, the market, has this wonderful rally based on that news, and then thinks about it, if you will, and realizes, not a lot's changed. There's still that uncertainty. maybe I should take this opportunity to get back out of it.
So the tariffs were planned. I think for most of us, we knew when the Liberation Day was coming, and so did the market. So are hedge funders or people who play the Wall Street market and play the stock market as like it's a slot machine, are they getting rich here because they knew this was going to happen?
Yeah, that's a question. We don't know, right? But you can't help but speculate. I would argue, though, that yes, we knew Liberation Day was coming, but the market was anticipating nothing remotely like what we got, right? In fact, the day before Liberation Day, we had a really nice rally in stocks. That told me that the market is anticipating something not quite as bad as what's been promised. I would actually argue that the market has been in denial. That Trump in 2017 was a wonderful experience. It was all about growthy policies. The market had a wonderful time. And then the trade war happened in 2018, and we went for 20 months where the market did virtually nothing while this was all going on. But the man himself, the president, really kept focusing on the stock market. And during the course of his term, we could, probably don't have time, we get into the weeds as to what happened during that whole 4 years, but the market had a really good ride. So the assumption was that, hey, he's going to come back in and he's going to do virtually the same thing, and he's going to focus on the market, and it's going to go up. Well, he actually said as the market began to fall, I'm not looking at the market right now. And the market didn't believe him, right? And what I was telling clients is, yeah, there's a pain point here. I said, I think recession odds are too high, so the risk reward is where we are not willing to even remotely back up the truck right here and buy stocks because they've gotten a bit cheaper. But we expect these massive rip-your-face-off rallies because I think the powers that be are starting to feel the pain. And I can tell you that the hedge fund titans who really backed the president, who made big contributions to his campaign, who were table pounders for him, many of them in the last week have been out there publicly saying, we can't do it this way, right? We're going to have to rethink this.
So buckle up, right? Yeah. Hang on tight. It's going to be a fun ride.
It's a long-term investment,
I'm going to have you back on about a month or so we could handicap this whole thing. Again, Marty Mazzora, appreciate the time. We're back with Sunday Conversation, and we're going to put an asterisk right next to this show coming up next. Finally, you know what time it is. It's time to get social. And albeit I am wearing the Bill Murray Azalea cocktail shirt in honor of the tradition unlike any other. The Masters, it's must-see TV for the last 89 years. Did we have TV 89 years ago? No, we didn't. All right. But this week and last, something caught my eye. Two young ladies stole the show. We had Rory McIlroy's 40-year-old daughter, Poppy, with putting precision, a tap-in for a birdie for Pops during Wednesday's par 3 contest. But it was like 30 feet away. She realized at that moment how famous her dad was because of the crazy deafening roar from the gallery when she delicately put that putt in. Expect to see Poppy hit the golfing world in a decade. But why wait? We all remember Michelle Wie, the female golf version of Tiger. In the here and now, the women's game has a big, bold, and bright asterisk next to it. As in our Valley's own, the Thrilla from Chilla, asterisk Tally. She really needs no introduction to the world of golf, but maybe you do. Just last week, she stormed back in the Augusta National Women's Amateur Tournament, finishing runner-up. Asterisk had the shot of the day in the final round on the first hole. An eagle from the fairway. She put on an absolute show with grace, elegance, and precision, chipping through the pine needles and trees to follow it up with a birdie on the 17th hole, only to fall short by a single stroke. Make no mistake about it, Asterisk Tally is the future star of the game, women and men. Yeah, I said it. Already signed by TaylorMade, just 16 years old. And she's the queen of Rolex's U.S. amateur rankings. She ranks number 1 in the U.S. in amateurs. She ranks 14th as an amateur in the world. She has 2 victories already in 2025. Her accomplishments on the golf course already made of legend. And she just did something never seen before at the Masters. Now, this is according to golf statistician Justin Ray. Tally hit 17 of 18 greens in regulation during the final round at the iconic Augusta National Golf Club. Yes, home of the Masters. Not many professionals, male or female, can say they've done that. I don't know who. A small town girl whose name means little star in Greek, Asterisk Tally, is on her way to a storied Hall of Fame career in golf. This little star is lighting up the golf world, but maybe even bigger than that. Asterisk Tally is a reminder that the Central Valley is the breeding ground for greatness. That's my time. Thanks for listening and, of course, watching Sunday Conversation exclusively on KMJ. And see you next week.